Talk Daily. I wanted to talk about something that is really close to home for me and something that a lot of us tend to struggle with. And that is why it's so hard to put ourselves first and not feel guilty about taking some time for self care. And I don't mean just bubble baths and face masks, I mean true soul level, energy restoring, health prioritizing self care. If you've ever said, I don't have time, or I feel guilt or have felt guilty about doing something for you, well, today's talk is for you. I want to talk about the real reasons why you keep putting yourself last. Every single section, like usual, is going to have a little golden nugget for you to write down, pause the video, or take a little screenshot. And today's golden nugget for part one is self neglect is often masqueraded as selflessness. And it's one thing that I think needs to be talked about. So, what's actually going on in our day to day is that we're biologically and socially wired to take care of other people, especially as women, moms, caregivers, daughters, husbands, sons, parents. We're raised to equate worth with service. And the hormone oxytocin, which is released when caring for others, creates a feedback loop that rewards us for nurturing, but it also can often lead to burnout if not balanced with self nurturing. A study in the Journal of Behavioral Medicine in 2015 found that people who experience high levels of caregiving stress, like moms or nurses, I should say parents and nurses. By the way, if you hear a little bit of banging, that's my upstairs neighbors. I apologize. People that experience high levels of caregiving stress had elevated cortisol, aka stress levels, and increased risk for cardiovascular disease and depression. Common blocks equal guilt, they need more, they need me more, or fear of if I stop, everything's going to fall apart, or even a part of your identity. I'm the strong one, I'm the helper. And a way that we can start to reframe this is that you can't pour from an empty cup. Self care isn't selfish, it's strategic. And it allows you to serve from a place of wholeness instead of depletion. And this is really, really powerful whenever you start to reframe things like the whole pour from an empty cup. For example, here, right, I have my coffee. I also just wanted a sip of coffee, but if I pour from that, it's going to go everywhere. But if I pour from a glass that has nothing in it, it has nothing to give. It has nothing in it. And the same goes with our wellness. It also doesn't help that societally we reward hustle over healing. This golden nugget is that we live in a culture that worships productivity and punishes rest. And I can't think of a more clear example than that. How many very masculine energy, hustle, do it, get up early, blah, blah, blah type motivational videos do you hear? But how many are them? How many are there coming from a female energy, a more nurturing side, focusing on this? You don't. And so let's talk about what's happening here. We wear busyness, not business, like being busy. We wear busyness like a badge of honor. We think if we're not doing something, we're lazy. If we rest, we'll fall behind. If we say no, we'll disappoint someone. It's come to the point where we basically glorify the word busy. I don't know how many times I've talked about this over the last couple of years, especially since coming out of COVID. People like to glorify the busy again. And I think it's a great lesson of what happened during the pandemic of forcing everyone to slow down. Yeah, there was a lot of mental health and issues created, but one of the silver linings here was that it forced people to slow down and focus on relationships and focus on self-care and focus on it's okay to slow down. And now that we're out of all of that, it's kind of like this weird limbo where we're trying to balance it. A study from Women in the Workplace in 2022 found that 43% of women leaders are burnt out, compared to only 31% of men. That's a 12% difference. but they also feel less supported when they take time off or prioritize wellness. Alexa, stop. Alexa, play deep house. I just realized that that kind of music can also get me censored on Facebook and YouTube. So we're going to just switch it to something that doesn't have as many issues. Anyways, this burnout culture basically trains the nervous system to be on high alert constantly. And so when you finally get a minute to breathe, your brain doesn't know how to relax. I am very guilty of this. I cannot just sit on the couch for hours. My husband, no problem. Not for hours, but he can relax. I have a very hard time just sitting on the couch and doing nothing. Even scrolling on my phone or filling it with chores because silence and stillness feels uncomfortable. And so, the way that I want to reframe this is that rest is not a reward for being productive. It's a prerequisite so that you can keep showing up in your life fully in your career, your relationships, and even in your own skin. This is like one of my favorite topics to talk about. Give me 1 second. Alexa, play deep house mix. I don't know, something like that. Oh, yeah, it's going to play something. Anyways, no. Alexa, play jazz mix. Sorry. Anyways, part three to this is really that we also have trauma, conditioning, and a martyrdom type syndrome. Our golden nugget here is that if you've learned that love was earned through sacrifice, self care is going to feel unnatural. What's really going on here is that many of us have deep rooted programming that tells us that we're only valuable when we're doing things for others. And this stems from childhood roles of parentifying, perfectionism. It can come from religious or cultural beliefs around sacrificing yourself for others. It can come from trauma responses like not fauna. Fauna is outside animals and stuff. Fawning and people pleasing. According to Dr. Nicole LaPera, who is a holistic psychologist, early childhood dynamics shape how we self regulate and how we prioritize ourselves. If we learned that love came with strings, we might struggle to believe that we're worthy of care just for existing. Psychology Today notes that fawning, which is a trauma response, often manifests as chronic self abandonment, doing anything to avoid conflict or pleasing others at the cost of your own needs. So, how we can reframe this is that we're not put on this earth to be the backup dancer in everyone else's story. You matter, your health matters, and healing the martyr mindset starts with micro self permissions. Now, part four comes into the myth of when things settle down. Oh, I'll start taking care of myself when things slow down. Oh, I will I will start doing it later. Your golden nugget here is that if you do not make time for your wellness, you will be forced to make time for your wellness or for your illness. And here's what keeps happening, right? We say when work slows down, when the kids go back to school, when they're on vacation, when I have more energy. And here's the hard truth that I've been learning in my 30s more than anything. Life is never going to slow down. In fact, I find it speeds up. New responsibilities are always going to take the place of old ones. And the pattern isn't in the circumstances, it's in the belief that your needs are negotiable, and they're not. In 2023, the Canadian Journal of Public Health reviewed that preventative health behaviors like stress management, exercise, sleep prioritization are strongly correlated with long term health outcomes, yet consistently and almost always are under prioritized by women in particular, especially working moms. So here's your reframe. Health is not a luxury for when things calm down. It's a daily, living, breathing practice that makes the chaotic seasons a little bit more manageable. And it's one of the hardest things to implement. It's one of the hardest things to accept. So let's get into the reality of this here. How do we actually start? Well, let's talk about it. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems by James Clear. So here's where we need to shift into strategy because you don't need more information. You already know what to do. You need to implement. And here's how to start reclaiming your self care. Step one is to take micro permissions. Start with literally 5 minutes. I mean it. Set a timer, 5 minutes. Sit with your tea. Stretch your body. Maybe take a walk without your phone. Your brain needs proof that it's safe to slow down, that nothing crashes around you when you put yourself first. We need to train the brain. And some of these are things that I teach regularly to my clients, and I wanted to share them with you as well. This one to my clients will seem second nature. Step two is to anchor your why. Ask yourself, why does taking care of me allow me to do better? Am I more patient with my kids? Am I leading better at work? Am I showing up better in my relationships? Tie self care into your values, not just vanity. Step three is practicing saying no without apology. This is a huge one that I had to learn after I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, my autoimmune condition. Saying no, no to family drama, no to uncomfortable situations. I do take on regularly uncomfortable situations, but to the excess. Does that make sense? Self care is often subtraction for people, not addition. Okay. It's saying no to extra projects, no to obligations that drain you and are avoidable, no to being the emotional dumpster for everyone else's stuff. Here's a tip: you don't have to justify every boundary. A full sentence you can practice is, that does not work for me right now. That's a full sentence. Guess what? No is also a full sentence. Step four here is to replace guilt with gratitude. Instead of saying, oh, I feel bad for taking time for myself, flip the script. I'm grateful I'm learning to take care of myself so I can give from the overflow. Step five is build in non negotiables. Book your workouts and treat them like appointments. Book your walks. Book your wind downs like meetings. If you don't put it in your calendar, the day will swallow it up. Use reminders, sticky notes, alarms, apps, whatever you need to cue the habit, because routine is always going to beat motivation. Like quite a few different quotes say, self discipline is the greatest form of self love. So, sweethearts, this is not about perfection, it's about protection. Your peace, your health, your energy, they matter. And the only way to live sustainably, joyfully, and with a purpose driven life is to stop abandoning yourself in the name of getting it all done. Because when you put yourself first, it's not taking away from everyone else. You're showing up as your most present, powerful, and magnetic self. And that is a gift to everyone and you. What's, I just want you to tell me in the comments, what's one small act of self care that you're going to commit to this week? Tag me in your IG stories as something that you do for you, even if it's just sitting inside of something that you do for you. Sorry. Even if it's just sitting in silence for 5 minutes, that counts. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Sammy Blazquez, and I look forward to hearing all of your lovely comments, and I hope that this hit home for you and was a gentle reminder as to why it's so important for us to care for in here.